Hello and welcome to season 4 of the NGO Whisperer Show. My name is Dr. Carolyne Opinde. I am the founder of the NGO Whisperer and the convener of the NGO Whisperer Masterclass. Here at the NGO Whisperer, we provide technical support to nonprofits and social enterprises so they can successfully impact people's lives. Joining us today from Johannesburg in South Africa is Shamila Ramjawan. She's a multi-award-winning philanthropist and entrepreneur. She's the founder of Princess D Menstrual Cup and a menstrual health hygiene champion. She is the founder of Farm Run Solutions and Farm Run philanthropic organization that she founded to give back to the society. She's a business management lecturer at the University of South Africa. She is the Play Your Part ambassador at Brand South Africa. She is a beauty and she's won a beauty pageant, Mrs. Johannesburg 2019. That's not all. She collaborates with organizations around the world and she is the African chairperson for Ladies of All Nations International, Lowani, UK, and the country director for South Africa for the International Youth Society. Joining us in this part 1 of this show as we discuss social cohesion and nation building in South Africa. We are just so honored to celebrate this day as we celebrate also the International Day for Nelson Mandela, where we are commemorating the years that Nelson Mandela gave back to the society as a legacy for what he has done. And today we're going to celebrate community service and volunteering around the world, and specifically in South Africa, where it came from. Shamila, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dr. Opinde. Thank you so much for having me on the show. And I want to commend you on the amazing work that you're doing for communities globally. And I know you do a lot of work in South Africa as well. Thank you so much. We truly appreciate you and we see you.
We are just so honored to have you today as we celebrate the Nelson Mandela International Day. Before we get into that, share with us, who is Shamila Ramjawan?
Humble beginnings. I hail from a little town in Pietermaritzburg in KwaZulu-Natal, and that's exactly where the unrest is taking place at this moment. A young widow at the age of 34, raising 2 kids, and it was just something that I felt that, I had to grow as an individual and fend for my 2 little kids. So at that stage, I just had a diploma and I decided to study further and just grow myself. And lo and behold, I hold a number of degrees and diplomas and certificates now. But I just believe that, as Tata Madiba says, and today being Nelson Mandela Day, education is the key weapon that you can use to change the world. And that is exactly what I've done, is I'm changing the world with my business, my entrepreneurship, philanthropy, and everything else that goes with it. So yes, I am now in Johannesburg, the big city. I moved in 2002 and I settled here. Having lost my husband in 1998, I was actually working at a company in Pietermaritzburg and they offered me a promotion to move to Johannesburg, and I took on the offer and I decided that I'm going to leave the traumatic experience behind in KwaZulu-Natal and move to Johannesburg. And that's exactly what I did. I took the opportunity and I just grew here in Johannesburg. And there's been so many opportunities. And when you're in a single parent and you trying to look after your family and move to a big city where everything is so expensive, you tend to become erratic in your jobs. And that's exactly what I've done. I moved from one job to the other in corporate. And I headed up marketing and communications teams. I was director of the CSI. And I found that there was a need to actually work in communities.
In your opinion, what does social cohesion and nation building mean?
Dr. Opinde, this week has been just overwhelming with emotions. The South Africans have endured so much, we witnessed pandemonium with looting, violence, destruction. And for me, I believe that social cohesion is the degree of social integration and inclusion in communities and society at large. It involves building shared values in communities, reducing disparities in wealth and income. And, we have to look at the root of the problem. We cannot say that the looters are at fault. Yes, they are because of the destruction. But for me, it's the deep root problem that we have where there's poverty. And this is something that needs to be addressed by government. People need to have voices. They've been talking for too long. It's now time to implement. What is being done where people have no housing, proper housing facilities, proper water and sanitation, essential services? There's hunger, there's unemployment amongst the youth. And all of this actually attributes to exactly what happened in the country. So we are here to stand as a force and have that voice for the people out there in the communities. We need to build South Africa, and we are the nation builders. And for us to have that voice and actually do something about it, if you looked at the news in the last few days, where South Africans really came together, they united, they decided to rebuild the country after the mayhem that happened in the last week. And it's important for us as public figures to go out there and help do this. And we only can do this if we have the collaboration and the unity amongst all of us. And, I really, really commend the South Africans for forming that unity and going out there and fending for their communities, protecting what they have, protecting their loved ones, their belongings. Because, we as South Africans, me for one, I come from humble beginnings. I can tell you that I didn't have money to study further. I didn't have money to go to university. I lived in a little house, a 2-bedroom house with it was my siblings, my mom and my dad in 2 bedrooms in a house in Northdale, Pietermaritzburg. That's where I come from. I didn't have the second pair of socks to wear to go to school. I used to go to school, wear the socks, come back, wash it. If it didn't dry for the next day, I would iron it, wear it to school the next day. And that was what I did. And, for me I know exactly what people in communities are going through with the hardships and not having, because I know what it is like to not have.
And you have gone from that to where you are today, where you not only have enough for yourself, but you're giving back as a philanthropist. Speaking of what's going on right now in South Africa, and you've rightly mentioned it, there is high inequality when it comes to the gap between the rich and the poor, and the gap is widening. There is high unemployment rate. In South Africa, I work with many nonprofits that are in the space of youth skills building. And I know there are initiatives by the government like Yes for Youth, where corporations are coming together to create hubs and create opportunities. However, it is widening and we can see it. And you know what? COVID has really widened the gap further. So we look back and we say, things that we have achieved the last 10 years, we almost feel like we have been taken back 10 years backwards in terms of development and successes that we have achieved in the form of socio-economic development. So looking at all this that's happening in South Africa, my question to you is, as they play your part, Ambassador, around South Africa, what do you do to promote social cohesion and nation building alongside other brand Ambassador South Africa players?
So we are very active in the communities. And I think, as a player part ambassador for Brand South Africa, it is entirely up to us to make a difference, a socio-economic difference in the communities. And I'm very active in the communities. And, I want to talk a little bit about my Princess D Menstrual Cup, for example. So being the founder of the Princess D Menstrual Cup, it's just not about giving a girl a cup and saying, here's a sustainable solution for 10 years, go out there and use it. I am actively involved in the communities. Of the 380 schools that I've done in South Africa, I would say I attended about 360 of those activations. And that will tell you my commitment in nation building. So when I talk about rural areas, we're going into the deep rural areas where it's so remote that people in the urban areas haven't heard of some of these little townships. And that's exactly what I've been doing, is to go out there and hand out and, you know, teach the girls, on, you know, lecture them on menstruation, how to manage their menstruation, how to use the menstrual cup. So it's so important to us, you know, for us to have that active role in building communities and being there for these girls. You know, I can tell you examples, Dr. Opinde, is when I went to some of these schools, and, you know, when we leaving the schools, after the training, the girls will hold me by the leg and say, please don't go, I love you. And, you know, my heart, I become so emotional when I talk about this. My heart just sinks, because these girls have nothing, you know, besides not having menstrual products. They don't get the love, because a lot of them come out of teenage pregnancies. So they're living with grandmothers and aunts, and they don't have love. They don't have people telling them, I love you. Before they go to bed. There's nobody tucking them into bed, you know. So my heart really goes out, and I feel for these people. You know, a lot of people say I have a very soft heart, but I think, you know, it's just about having that compassion and that passion and that power to be able to do what I do. So for me, it's about actively playing a role. It's just not about getting all these global awards. Yes, it adds to your resume, but at the end of the day, you earned it. And being recognized is amazing. But, you know, I think all the player part ambassadors for Brand South Africa are very, very active in the communities, and they play various roles no matter what they do. There's a lot of player part ambassadors that are out there doing community work, because it's Mandela Day, it's a special day. Going and visiting orphanages, spending time with them, providing essential services, essential goods, cleaning up Johannesburg and KZN after the unrest. So there's various activities that's taking place. But also, you know, we mustn't forget that COVID still exists. And a lot of the organizations, institutions, and safe houses are not allowing people in because of COVID-19, because they're taking that extra precautions, you know, to protect their children or the elderly. So I decided today that I'm not going out, but I have been involved in a few projects. So I just want to talk about some of my projects that I'm involved with currently. Today, I've donated a few bags of food to somebody who is collecting food for pets. And I thought, you know, that's something that I would love to do, because I love my pet, and there are pets out there that really need food, especially the SPCA in South Africa. And I contributed to a whole lot of fundraising activities for feeding people in KwaZulu-Natal and Johannesburg during this time, because they are the elderly that need essential goods. They need medication. They cannot go anywhere because the supplies are so short in KZN at the moment. So people are, you know, being given rations. They can't have more than, I think, 30 items at a time if they go shopping. And some of them don't have transport to go shopping. So there's a lot of aid that's being provided now, you know, during this unrest time. And, you know, again, I want to commend South Africans for coming on board, getting together, collaborating, and making this work for everybody, because right now South Africa needs that unity. They need people to be out there on the ground helping. And, you know, also very involved with an organization now that I partnered with for this unrest in KwaZulu-Natal. Because I can't be there physically, I decided to partner with them through my foundation. So I have a foundation called FAMRAM Foundation, and that is a self-funded foundation, which is funded by my son, my daughter, and myself. And, you know, we actually put money into the foundation, and we do as much that we possibly can with the funds from there. So I decided that I am going to partner with Jesus Christ Warriors in KwaZulu-Natal, who is headed by Pastor Samantha de Kock, and she is running that initiative there. So we started fundraising, and I must say the money is trickling in. Thank you to all sponsors so far that are reaching out. I really, really appreciate that. You know, there's a lot of organizations doing amazing work at this time. Well done to them. We all can make a difference in the lives of people. And yes, so that's where we are currently.
Well done to all the amazing people who are playing their part as Brand South Africa, and communities that have come together to clean the street and to say no to violence and to say we are rebuilding South Africa. We are going to relive this legacy that Tamadiba Nelson Mandela left us with. Speaking of partners, you've spoken about the different partners that you work with. Share with us, how do you build these partnerships? Who are your partners? And what have you achieved so far?
I am the chairperson for Ladies of All Nations International. They have a representation in over 155 countries, and that is spearheaded by Professor Carolyne Makaka, who is the president founder. And I, met her a few years ago. That was 2018. To this day, we actually don't know how we met. So it was somewhere through social media, but it always baffles us how we met. But it was definitely through social media. And in 2018, we actually ended up going to Morocco, where we, it was Ladies of All Nations International, where they want to do an initiative in Morocco. And I decided to join them. And that's where I met Prof. Carolyne Makaka. And we built that relationship ever since. So I became the chairperson for South Africa, and recently I was announced as the Africa chairperson. So basically what we do, we actually bring the sisterhood together. We connect the dots, we connect the world, and we engage with women from across the globe. With Ladies of All Nations International, we have a lot of activities and we celebrate a lot of special occasions. For example, recently we celebrated Africa Day, where we got a whole bunch of people together. We had sessions and we had an entire conference that lasted for 10 days. And we had speakers from across the globe. We had the Youth Day as well. And it's all about connecting people and growing partnerships. I'm also the country director and national president for South Africa for the International Youth Society. And that has a representation of 145 countries globally as well. So with the International Youth Society, very, very similar, where we just want to create awareness. We want to build the youth, provide for them, provide technical skills, like you mentioned, and also just grow them and get them ready for employment. Unfortunately, due to COVID-19, we haven't done much in South Africa, but we tend to do as much in our personal capacities, which adds value to the International Youth Society. And for example, my Red Corner show, I'm the founder host of the Red Corner show. I actually interview people from across the globe on the show. And I found that this is giving back to the community, but it's creating the awareness and engaging with everybody across the globe. And people can come on board and share their stories, because I feel everyone has an inspiring story or stories to share with the rest of the world, and one can learn from them. So with the Red Corner show, I've now mentored my daughter, Dr. Ramjawan. She's the youth host on the Red Corner show, and we both are doing amazing work by just interviewing people from across the globe. So, just being focused and determined to drive the youth agenda in South Africa is something that's strong on our agenda, and we're looking forward to that, because there's so much that we are planning on, strategizing on what we want to do, where we want to go with it, and we're going to be implementing once, COVID just eases off.
Shamila, thank you so much for joining us for part 1 of Social Cohesion and Nation Building in South Africa. We cannot wait to get to part 2 of this episode. And we invite you, ladies and gentlemen, to join us next week for part 2 as we continue with our topic, which is social cohesion and nation building in South Africa. We invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on social media. Once again, we want to remind you to subscribe or sign up for our masterclasses. Go to ngowhisperer.com/masterclasses. They are free masterclasses for 2 hours, and they are paid masterclasses for 4 weeks. Sign up, bring your team. Let's build your capacity and help you so you can effectively raise funds and impact people's lives. As always, it's all about connecting people, raising funds, and impacting lives globally.